Hey guys, welcome back to 428 Shibuya Scramble. I almost had precinct. This is DJ Gamer Girl signing on. So, last episode, we completed Kano's current block, and I was able to unlock Maria's Keep Out next to it. Now, before I started the recording, someone warned me in the comments about another potential bad end for Minorikawa if I didn't release Tanaka's name to the public. Honestly, I don't know if it's true or not, but I'm not willing to take any chances. I'm honestly kind of done with all the bad ends. I enjoyed some of them, like some of the early ones with Maria, but otherwise, some of them were just so... just getting one after the other after the other. It's just kind of starting to get annoying. There didn't have to be so many bad ends. I've lost count, at least of the ones I've gotten, and I don't think I've gotten all of the bad ends. So I'm not taking any chances. I changed my choice to Kano telling Kuze to release the name. After reading the explanation, it makes much more sense. Because we don't know a damn thing about Tanaka, so releasing the name, we might find something out. But now we're back with Maria. I hear a faint voice and realize that the man is listening to a wireless radio. I've managed to secure Hitomi Osawa at the Shibuya Central Hospital, the voice says. Uh-oh, that's Stanley. A gleam comes to the gunman's eyes. He pulls a cell phone from his jacket and hurriedly makes a call. I've secured Maria Osawa, he says to whoever's on the other end. Huh? Maria Osawa? Is my name Maria Osawa? You need to bring Hitomi Osawa to my location at once. Hitomi Osawa. If I'm Maria Osawa, what sort of relationship do I have with Hitomi? If you don't bring her, I'll kill Maria. Then my captor hangs up. Were you serious just now? My voice wavers uncontrollably. What do you mean you'll kill me? Don't look at me like that. He steps in closer to me, his expression dangerous. That killer's edge that he'd lost during our little talk is back in full force. Just bear with me a little longer. He blindfolds my eyes with some sort of towel. I can't see through it all. Just then, I hear Kanan's voice inside my head. My memories are like shards of broken glass tumbling through my mind, all out of sequence. How are you able to do that when the stream's so tangled up? Oh, you know, once you know the trick to it, you can do it with your eyes closed. I'm showing Kanan how to do a cat's cradle. She reaches out for the stream. Huh? She doesn't get a hold of it quite right. Gives. Despite her efforts, the string gets all jumbled up. No, not like that, I say. Hook your index finger through the front part of the string. No, I get that. Kanan's getting irritated. But after giving it a few more tries, she finally manages to pull it off. There we go, she says. Look at that. Seeing her innocent little smile bolsters my own spirits. That's neat. Thanks for teaching me. Oh, it's nothing special. Here, as a thanks, let me teach you some skills to help protect yourself. Abruptly, my memory jumps forward a bit. You teach me how to do cat's cradle, I teach you how to beat people up that are trying to kill you. It kind of escalated. Kanana's been training me in some form of self-defense. Don't overthink it, she says. People will either try to punch you, kick you, or grab you. If you can stay ready for those three things, you'll be able to take it from there. She demonstrates some defensive maneuvers as I watch. I follow suit, doing my best to mimic her. Okay, let's do this. Kanan throws a punch at me. I dodge, grab her by the wrist, and give her arm a hard twist. Incredibly, she goes whirling through the air. She lands nimbly on her feet, a little grin coming to her face. Nicely done, she says. I stare down at my own hand. Did I really just do that? Once you repeat the movements enough, your body will treat them like second nature. I do as she says, trying to repeat the movements over and over. At first it feels like a silly gimmick, but eventually I can feel the motions growing smoother. There you go. People like those thugs we met before won't get the drop on you again. Thugs? Now my memories zip further back into the past. I was wandering the streets, trying to get back to my hotel, but I'd gotten lost. By the time I realized I'd wandered into some dodgy back streets, I was already surrounded by people giving me a threatening look. They must have been thugs looking for tourists to rob. If they'd caught me, I'm not sure I would have made it out alive. But they hadn't. Kanan had seen to that. Thank you so much for what you did for me. I didn't want there to be a scene here. Kanan said bluntly as she surveys the aftermath of the thug's attack. That's all. I'd happened to be right underneath her apartment window when I was nearly abducted. Bit by bit, my memories of Kanan are starting to resurface. Just a little more. Just a little more, and I'll have myself back. I'm sure of it. Detective Tatano, where are you? A man's voice suddenly snaps me back into the moment. It's Kano! I've come as you asked. The gunman grabs me by the arm and yanks me to my feet. Where's Hitomi Osawa? He snarls. Why didn't you bring her? Detective Tatano, why are you doing this? Is that really Maria? My captor removes my blindfold. The first thing I see is a huge blimp drifting slowly by overhead. Huh. I'm sure I've seen it before. And pretty recently at that. There's a flash of revelation inside my head. Like a dam bursting, my memories come flooding back to me. Last night, I was at a party, a sort of mixer with the exchange students. Someone was plotting to use this party as an opportunity to abduct my sister Hitomi. And so I told Hitomi that the party started 1 hour later than it really did. I had a plan. To let myself get abducted in Hitomi's place. Of course, the idea wasn't just to let myself get kidnapped. The necklace I wore was outfitted with a tiny GPS. Wherever I happened to be taken, Kanan would be able to track my location. What we hadn't counted on, though, was my necklace getting torn off when I was attacked. I'd managed to grab hold of it, but I hit my head while I was being shoved into the car, and it slipped from my grasp. I'm not sure how far we drove after that. In my fuzzy memories, I recall gazing blearily out the car window. That was when I saw the blimp, right after we parked. Yes, it went fine. Oh, that was a man. I thought that was Kanan. There was a man talking to someone on a cell phone. Alright, I'll shut her up inside the storeroom. I'll be waiting in the room upstairs. The man dragged me out of the car and shoved me into some dark storeroom. Then, I guess for good measure, he hit me on the head again. That's right. There's more of it coming back to me now. You spend your life living in a country at peace, in Japan. You couldn't possibly understand me. Kanan again. So it's not like she and I became fast friends right away or anything. The two of us were too different in a lot of ways. Where do you draw the line? What would you protect with your life? What does justice mean to you? A forlorn look came to her face whenever Kanan asked me a new question. And I never had a good answer for any of them. My flimsy grasp on my own personal identity made it hard for us to get along. Yet I kept visiting Kanan's place for the duration of my trip. I recall doing the cat's cradle there at the table one time when we didn't have anything in particular to talk about. Her eyes had gone wide when she saw me deftly manipulating the strings of my fingers. Who taught you how to do that? She asked. My mother. My real mother, that is. Kanan furrowed her brow. What do you mean, real? As opposed to my stepmother, I mean. My birth mother died after getting really sick. I was only 5 years old, so I don't remember her that well. I see, Kanan said. Her expression remained unchanged. What about your parents, Kanan? I don't have any. They died during the war. The blondness of her response made my hand stop, the string still stretched between them. Sensing that we were treading on some serious ground, I hurried to change the subject. Do you have any friends? No. Well, I used to have one. Her use of the past tense made me fear the worst, and I was right. He was killed too, by an arms dealer named Alfard. Ah, so that's why she's after Alfard. Her tone was dry, matter of fact. Taking revenge for his death is my sole purpose in life. Despite the gravity of her words, her face was an unreadable mask. She seemed almost incapable of human emotion. So, what sort of person is this Alfard? A destructionist who masquerades as a terrorist. Destructionist? That sure wasn't a term that came up a lot back in Japan. Alfard doesn't believe in God and holds no political ideology. The chaos and destruction is just to earn money in order to carry out more terrorist acts. So, you're saying this Alfard commits terrorism because it's fun? Kanan nodded. That's why every now and then, Alfard changes loyalties. Just when you think you've found ties to some Middle Eastern terrorist organization, turns out the job was for the American CIA. What the heck? So Alfard stands for nothing then? Kanan smiled dismissively at my little childish outburst. I couldn't help but feel a little patronized. I twiddled my fingers, turning my cat's cradle into a bridge. Kanan's eyes fixed right back on the string. A tiny surge of pride replaced my annoyance. She was quiet, watching closely as I worked my fingers. The tension in the room faded as the silence between us lengthened. My stepmother's the sort of person who couldn't do this sort of thing, I said at last. For some reason, I had a sudden urge to talk about my personal life. I guess she cares about herself more than looking after her children. She's not a bad person, though. She gives me weird bits of advice, like telling me to find someone to date, or that a woman's life is identified by a man. But it's not like I hate her or anything. Would you mind teaching me? Kanan asked softly. What? How to find a guy to date? No, she shook her head. Then she pointed to the cat's cradle string between my fingers. Oh, you mean this? So I took her by the hand and started to teach her the cat's cradle. Hey, do you mind if I ask you something? I said after a while. What's that? That friend you mentioned earlier. What was he like? Kanan's fingers went still. It's better if you don't ask. If I tell you, you won't want to come here anymore. That's not true, I insisted. Even though I'm a terrorist? She replied curtly. I swallowed a sudden lump in my throat, unable to find words. We fight for righteousness, but you people call us terrorists. Am I wrong? She cast a quick look at my face. But, I mean, You protected me. My voice wavered as I replied. All I did was take down some thugs. I just didn't want them around. What could I say to that? I just stammered. Nah, I'm just messing with you. Huh? Kanon flashed at me another slight condescending grin. I was just joking. Don't worry about it. But I didn't get the sense that everything she said was a joke. Even if calling herself a terrorist was an exaggeration, the world Kanon lived in was unquestionably a dangerous one. I could tell that from the cold look in her eyes. A look you'd never expect from an ordinary teenage girl. Just what sort of hardships had she endured to acquire that deadly stare? Having lived all my life in peaceful Japan, I could scarcely imagine. Kanon tried and failed several times to get the cat's cradle right, but she didn't give up. She worked fastidiously by herself, fingers continuing to shift awkwardly about. Okay, here we go. She hooked the string around her fingers and spread her palms. But the string shape just collapsed into a jumbled mess. Confound it. Okay, one more time. You can make this into a game with two people, you know. I plucked the string from Kanon's hands. You pass the string back and forth. Why don't we try that? It's more fun than doing it by yourself. I wrapped the string around my fingertips. What do you say? Want to give it a go? Kanon looked dubious. The intricately intertwined strings were like the world in a way. What had started as a single thread was now something that couldn't be undone by just pulling on it. I held my hands out, twirling the string around my fingers. Kanon took the pattern from me and spread her palms apart. She made a perfect bridge between her hands. The shy grin that came to her face made her finally look like a normal girl. I followed suit, with a childish little laugh of my own. And, as if in a blaze of sunshine, the fog that's been hanging over my mind finishes receding. I remember everything. My name is Maria Osawa. My sister is Hitomi Osawa. And Kanon. She's a dear friend who I met in a far-off land. She helped me once, and now it's my turn to help her. I close my eyes as I reflect upon these precious memories, all the dearer for having been lost. Now when I try to picture Kanon, I can do so clearly. It's just as I thought before, my memories are what make me who I am, and I would never choose to forget them. I feel almost as if time had stopped for me while my history was gone, and now it started moving again. I'm finally back to being me. And I have to go. I have to go back there one more time. End of her story. And well, okay. No, let's continue with Minorikawa. Wait. Then who deals with Hana? Okay, this is different. Minorikawa readied his pen and signed the document. Alright, Seigo cheered. Now we're talking. A satisfied grin came to Ozu's face as he reached for the contract. But before he could pick it up, Chiaki snatched it from the desk and ate it. That's not really good for you, Chiaki. I mean, as far as I know, eating paper is fine, but it has ink on it, and it sounded like a pencil. I'm not letting you do this! Crumpling the paper, she stuffed it right into her mouth. Hey! Seigo snapped. What the hell are you doing? He tried to force Chiaki's mouth open. Don't you dare, you bitch! But despite his frantic efforts, Chiaki managed to gulp the water paper down. I don't think any of you want to wait until it comes out the other end. Seigo blinked a few times. Oh, you did not just do that. Ozu looked on dumbstruck. I think everybody is a little dumbstruck. Even Minorikawa. He just looks like, what the hell were you thinking, Chiaki? Guess we gotta go get a new contract from the office, boss. Bring as many as you want, Chiaki declared. I'll just keep eating them. Girl, you some kind of damn goat or something? Seigo shoved Chiaki up against the desk. Cut it out! That hurts! As she struggled to resist, Chiaki lurched toward the desk, planting one of her hands atop the TV remote control. One of her fingers happened to land on the volume up button. The sound from the television set soon hit max volume. We've just learned the identity of the victim killed in the explosion. Shibuya resident and pharmaceutical executive. Shibuya resident? Minorikawa tilted his head in confusion. Toyama didn't live in Shibuya. Once again, the victim of the explosion was Shibuya resident and pharmaceutical company executive Mamoru Tanaka. The cause of the explosion remains unknown. The police are still in the process of following up several potential leads. The site of the incident remains an alarming scene, with relief workers continuing to tend to the wounded. The four people in the office spoke in near unison. Huh? Who's Tanaka? So Toyama's okay? Sweet! We made it to the next block. Okay, with Maria done, we only have 4 people left. So something tells me, well, actually no, Kano's on site. So he might end up traveling with Maria. I'm curious. Let's do him. Let's start his block. And I'm curious about that. A gunshot ran out from Tatano's gun, but it was a wild shot, fired reflexively at the weapon as the weapon flew out of his hand. A figure had leapt from the building behind the water storage tank, kicking him in the arm that held the gun. Kanan! It has to be Kanan! Then, moving almost too fast for the eye to track, the newcomer delivered an elbow strike to Tatano's jaw. Kano didn't even have the chance to fire his gun. Before he could react, Maria's kidnapper was already laid out on the ground. Without so much as looking back, the girl bolted down the stairs. Maria! Kano shouted. He started to chase after her, but a bright glimmer in the corner of his eye stopped him in his tracks. The strange assailant had drawn a knife, and was preparing to slit the unconscious Tatano's throat. Kano quickly brought his bun back to bear. A bun. Good job. Stop right there. The knife stopped, mere millimeters from Tatano's neck. Kano was sure that if he hadn't intervened, the detective's throat would have been slit already. The knife wielder pulled back the hood that had been concealing her face. I know you, Kano said, shocked to see that he recognized the attacker. It was the girl who'd been knocked down by the minivan explosion. Why stop me? She asked, her tone ice cold. Weren't you just about to shoot him yourself? I don't have a reason to shoot him anymore, now that you've helped Maria escape. Please, put the knife away. Very well. Looks like he's not waking up for a while anyway. The girl withdrew the knife and rose to her feet. Why did you come to Maria's rescue? Because she's my friend, the girl said simply. She's been infected with a virus, Kano said. We have to get her help as soon as possible. He headed for the stairs that Maria had scampered down. Not so fast. Don't move. The girl's sharp tone made Kano stop. What for? He demanded. I thought you wanted to help. I do want to help her, which is why I'm not letting the police get their hands on her. The girl's voice was quiet but hard as steel. The police are afraid of the Ua virus spreading, which is why they'll certainly place Maria under quarantine. If that happens, there won't be any way to save her. Just who in the world are you? Before I answer that, let's make a deal. Kano waited, non-committal. I have information relevant to this case, the girl continued. I want to make an exchange. Kano swallowed the lump in his throat. In exchange for what? Tell me where Hitomi Osawa is. Hitomi Osawa? Stanley had taken Hitomi into custody. Kano could probably get in touch and ask him where she was, but why do you want to know where Hitomi is? Do we have a deal or not? The girl looked like she was in no mood to argue. Still, if she knew about the Ua virus, she was probably telling the truth about having information. But it was a violation of police policy to leak information on any investigation to a third party. Besides, was it wise to trust this young woman without knowing who she was? Kano weighed his options for a moment before replying. Like, we know who Kanan is, so I'm like, dude, you can trust her. Alright, I'll tell you. Kano agreed. The girl gave a tiny nod. But first, what's your name? Kanan. Kanan? Kano thought back to the grisly scene at the Foreign Syndicate's hideout. Did she do that? He was almost afraid to wonder. There was still a lingering trace of adolescence in the strange girl's face. It was hard to believe someone so young could be a covert Middle Eastern operative. And yet Kano had seen how quickly she'd been able to render Tatano unconscious. Alright then. Guess I'll go first, Kanan began. There's someone out there trying to get their hands on the antiviral drug. My objective is to eliminate this person and put a stop to their plan. Kano felt neither surprise nor horror at her use of the term eliminate. After all that had happened today, he realized his sensibilities had gone numb. This person you're after. You're talking about an arms dealer named Alphard, aren't you? Kanan nodded. The Ua virus has been weaponized and tested several times on the battlefield to great effect, she said. The antiviral would render this weapon wholly ineffective. Countries the world over are dying to get their hands on it. Then why did Alphard orchestrate this kidnapping? If the goal is to get the antiviral, why not just steal it from the laboratory? There was a lot about this kidnapping case that it still didn't add up. Kano was sure Alphard's plan was hidden in those baffling details. Lab security at Okashi Pharmaceutical is practically perfect. The place is under surveillance 24 hours a day. And getting to where the antiviral is stored requires bypassing 3 sophisticated electronic locks. Getting the antiviral out is impossible. Unexpectedly, a slight grin appeared on Kanan's face. If you were Alfred, how would you steal it? She asked. Huh? Kana was taken aback by the sudden question. He thought good and hard about how to answer. Hello? Hitomi! Also, what hands up the lab? Wouldn't he be able to get it out? No. Accessing the storage facility requires the identification of both Kenji Osawa and Mamoru Tanaka. It's impossible, even for one of them to gain entry alone. That's right. Stanley had mentioned the same thing. The lab security also performs a thorough body search at the building's exit. This ensures that employees can't sneak materials out on their way home from work. That level of security was perhaps understandable. Kano tried to think of other ways to gain access to the drug, but none came to him. 6 days ago, Alfred injected Hitomi Osawa with the Uwa virus. What? The tale had taken a sudden and very unexpected turn. So it wasn't only Maria who had been infected, but Hitomi as well. 6 days ago, at that... Wait, hold on. Hitomi Osawa was perfectly healthy earlier today. So that must mean... Exactly. Kenji Osawa administered the antiviral to her. An unsettling thought occurred to Kano. It was supposedly impossible for Osawa to access the antiviral all by himself. But if he'd been able to do this to his daughter, all the same, then that had to mean... He needed Mamoru Tanaka's help to do it, of course, Kanan said. Which is why Alfred bribed Tanaka ahead of time. So that's what happened. Tanaka had been paid off to inject Hitomi with the virus. Getting Osawa to take action at that point wouldn't have been difficult. But why go to such lengths to get the antiviral administered to Hitomi? Why would Alfred have Hitomi infected with the virus only to then have her father cure it? It's been roughly a week since she was given the antiviral. The DDS is still in her body. The what? Essentially, taking blood from Hitomi Osawa now would allow someone to extract the minuscule amounts of the antiviral. Kana was stunned. Suddenly, all these seemingly unrated threads were beginning to form a pattern. So, since getting the antiviral itself out of the lab wasn't an option, Alfred must have thought of using a human vessel, he murmured. Which means the thing that Alfred's really after is... Kana nodded. Yes, Hitomi's blood, she finished. Alfred specifically requested that Hitomi make the ransom handoff, Kanan said. Additionally, the crime syndicate was hired to carry out a relay with the attaché case containing the ransom money. This would disrupt the investigation and distract the police, allowing the kidnappers to target Hitomi in secret. Wait, no, hold on. There's something about this story that still made no sense to Kano. Tell me this, he said to Kanan. Why not use Tanaka for the vessel instead of Hitomi? Tanaka could enter the lab along with Osawa, then secretly inject himself with the antiviral. It didn't seem like that would be terribly difficult. A good question. If getting the antiviral were the only goal, that would be the most expedient means of doing it. So then why use Hitomi Osawa? Kana asked. Kanan thought for a moment before answering. Tanaka may have objected to the idea of giving himself the drug. I hear that it can have some severe side effects. But she seemed unconvinced by her own words. Do you know why they targeted Hitomi? Kano demanded. I don't. But I'm sure there must be some reason. Alfred hadn't gone with using Tanaka, which would have been the sure thing. Instead, they'd gone with Hitomi. Hitomi was injected with the virus, brought into the lab, and used to sneak the antiviral out. Now the plan was to extract the antiviral from Hitomi's blood. Something about this idea still struck Kano as incredibly odd. So wait, Why not just abduct Hitomi from the very beginning? Why kidnap Maria instead? And yeah, I think they mistakenly kidnapped Maria. Had the kidnappers mistaken Maria for Hitomi? The two were twins after all, so it wasn't inconceivable, but... It's my fault that Maria was kidnapped. Kanan looked away. I contacted her before this all started. I told her about the kidnapping plan, and I gave her a GPS beacon to give her sister, so that I could track Hitomi's location after she was abducted. But my plan backfired. Maria switched places with Hitomi and let herself get taken by Alvard. The hell? Why had Maria taken this to the police? Or if she was so determined to protect her sister, why not just get her to leave town or something like that? There must have been some sort of accident, though, Kanan continued. The GPS was never turned on after the kidnapping, and I wasn't able to track Maria down. But there was something that even Alvard hadn't counted on. Kanan cast a glance over at Tatano. This person right here, she said. So Tatano had disrupted Alvard's plan by going after Hitomi himself. Considering where it's all led, Kanan continued, Alvard must be panicking about now. But we can't let our guard down. Even now, I'm sure the mastermind is thinking of some way to fit what this man has done into the master plan. So it's a perfectly imperfect plan. Is that what you're saying? Precisely. Kanan flashed Kano an approving grin. I heard that from Stanley, Kano said. The man who drove you to the hospital earlier. A case officer, huh? Case officer? So that was it. Stanley was a CIA. Now that Kano thought about it, it all made sense. Since Alvard is an arms dealer with worldwide connections, I don't know what nation might be trying to obtain the antiviral. Obviously, any country that has the viral weapon would want to prevent their enemies from obtaining it. It's no huge surprise that people are butting in to try and put a stop to Alvard's plan. The tiny beeping sound caught Kano's attention. Kanan pulled a PDA from her breast pocket. Interesting. The GPS I gave to Maria has just been powered on. Now I can find her location. Where is she? She's on the move. But why is the GPS suddenly act up now? Kanan frowned. Anyway, at any rate, I've told you what I know. Now tell me where Hitomi is. Alright. Kano got out his phone and called Stanley. The American was quick to pick up. What's going on? Where's Hitomi? We're on our way to Endo Electronics in Dolgenzaka. Endo Electronics? Why are you going there? Kano was familiar with the dilapidated old storefront. He had passed by the place countless times. Too long of a story. There's a lot that's happened, Stanley replied. How are things on your end? About as bad as it could be, but I'm getting closer to the truth. Please make sure you keep Hitomi safe. Alvard is after her blood. Her blood? Kano told Stanley what he'd heard from Kanan. I see. So that's what's going on. Once we're finished with things in Dolgenzaka, I'll bring Hitomi right back to the precinct. Where is she? Kanan asked as soon as Kano hung up. She's on her way to an electronics store in Dolgenzaka. I see. Kanan checked Maria's location on her PDA. First I need to get Maria, she said. I'll get to Hitomi after that. I'm going with you. Be my guest. With that, Kanan was off and running. Kanan took Kanan. Now I'm gonna get their names mixed up, because they both have Kan in their names. Kano took one last glance at the unconscious Tatano, then hurried after Kanan as fast as he could. Alright, that's where I'm going to leave this episode. We'll continue this next time. Till then, this is the Gamer Girl, signing off.